Welcome to the Awaken Your Ego podcast, where we embark on a transformative journey towards unleashing your highest potential. I'm your host, Joanne, and I'm thrilled to guide you through discussions that delve into the realms of physical, mental, and spiritual wellness.
Brenna here. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of wellness, offering insights and practical tips to enhance your overall health. From rejuvenating your body to nurturing your mind and spirit, our conversations will cover a holistic approach to well-being.
I'm one of your hosts, Ariana. Discover alternative health strategies aimed at optimizing every aspect of your life. If you're ready to embark on this journey of self-discovery and well-being, tune in, open your mind, and let's awaken your ego together. Welcome to a life-changing adventure on the Awaken Your Ego podcast. All right, well, let's get started here. Hi, Jodi. Thank you for joining us on the Awaken Your Ego podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be with you.
Awesome. So I want to tell everyone a little bit about Jodi. Jodi Scott is a master of the intricate connections between the mind, body, and the healing power of medicinal plants. With over 2 decades of experience and a master's degree in health psychology, she specializes in the intriguing field of psychoneuroimmunology. Jodi's path has been a remarkable exploration of human health's boundaries. As the CEO and co-founder of Spry Life LLC, a personal care product manufacturing company that specializes in the health and wellness sector, particularly focusing on plant-based solutions, Jodi, alongside her sister and mother, ignited a botanical revolution that birthed iconic brands like Green Goo First Aid and the groundbreaking Green Goo CBD line. Her commitment to plant-based product development, powered by a unique extraction process, has made waves across the globe, from national pharmacies of Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, and soon Australia. Jodi Scott is a true pioneer in plant-based products using innovative extraction techniques that have earned global acclaim. Her journey unfolds further, where she explores emerging markets, including cannabis and psychedelics, pushing the boundaries of health and wellness. She passionately champions her company's commitment to social good and environmental impact, emphasizing her unwavering dedication to authenticity and efficacy in all of her endeavors. Gosh.
That's really impressive. We're so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Oh, it's so awesome to be here. Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you originally got into health psychology?
Yeah, that's a great question, which has been really fun because it's been full circle in terms of what we're doing now. So in my undergrad, I had a double major in psychology and biology, and I was pre-med. And truly, that was around the time frame that I really became inspired in terms of this integrative medical approach. And so I started taking, yes, in my free time, I wanted to go and work at hospitals and donate my time to get to know, how it all worked. And what I identified was that physicians were not taking the time to look at the patient or engage with the patient outside of, like, here's your medicine, your prescription, go take it, have a good, I hope it works out for you. And instead, really looking at the patient as this, like, okay, what are some barriers that are preventing them from, one, maybe taking the medicine, or two, really getting the best results out of the medicine. Maybe they need to change their diet. Maybe they need to change something in their lifestyle. And so I identified the biopsychosocial model, which is really looking at the patient in its totality and seeing what other social barriers may be related to that. So I actually found I joined, or was admitted into, the first health psychology master's program in the US. And that focus was very much on sort of, what is the relationship between our psychology and behavior and our health. And today, it's very much like integrative holistic medicine, but at the time, that was very new. And I'm proud to say that during that time and the research that we did, it really changed the education system for medical students.
That's awesome.
I love that. And I think that's something we talk about all the time on the podcast and even at our wellness clinic, that connection, that mind, body, even like you said, socially, it's like all of it is so interconnected. And I love that medicine is continually heading that way, seeing that full person.
Yes, it's huge. And I had like my own personal experience too. I was super sick in my undergrad, had pneumonia, and was just like, probably working too hard. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have the tools to fix this. It's not just like this antibiotic. Like I have the
Mhm.
tools. And it was so funny. I went and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be mindful today. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna meditate. And I'm also just gonna be mindful throughout the day of like not overexerting myself and rest and water and all of those things. And like literally that setting that intention like brought me over to the other side of healing the pneumonia. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was the turning point. Was just it was me. I was in the way. And so it was really empowering. And then I started to really lean more into like psychoneuroimmunology and better understand it because I had personally experienced it. And of course then there was just a lot of anecdotal research. Like you start looking at psychoneuroimmunology and it was just kind of word of mouth. And now I love seeing all the science and the data. I mean, it's really, truly, data-driven wellness now.
Well, I love that you brought that up because my next question was going to be what inspired you to shift into studying alternative medicine, like plant-based medicine and the psychoneuroimmunology? You say it so well, and I'm like struggling on that word.
Oh, for sure. Um, well, my sister's a certified herbalist and midwife, and then, me being pre-med, and she was learning how to, make plant-based salves and topical therapeutics. And we lived in Austin, so we were where like the first Whole Foods, was, and then we were working in health food stores, and we were experiencing firsthand, customers coming in and saying, "Hey, I need." An herbal sitz bath. Well, there was no herbal sitz bath. So we had to like look it up and then try to help them make it. And we started to identify, this, and there was a lot of greenwashing, even in the natural channel. We were seeing just a lot of extracts and hidden ingredients, and different fillers. And then something really, really fascinated us was that, okay, we have this very clean life we're living. We're using natural personal care products. We're eating organic foods. But our first aid cabinet was horrible. Like we opened it up, it was like a ton of waste, a ton of plastic, and it was all the chemical laden products. And we are like, why are we making this exception? What is it about this? Like, how can we be living cleaner lives? And then we started looking around even more, and we were like, oh my gosh, we're not alone. We're like, the natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told products like Neosporin, hydrocortisone, calamine were the only products that could get the job done. And then we're like, wow, like the conventional consumer didn't care about the ingredients. They're just looking for something that works better. And so it really like morphed us in the sense of one, we already had a passion in the space. Two, we were like involved in the space, and then three, we were like, we can do better. We can bring plant-based solutions that are superior in efficacy because again, the extracts were inhibiting, or these other fillers were inhibiting, the actual efficacy of these products. And why our products work so well is because of the process. And that just kind of dovetails in terms of, we'll call it the greenwashing that we see out there. We make most of the ingredients. So we bring the plants to our manufacturing facility where we take or we infuse them. We yield the highest amounts of the medicinal properties from these plants. And then those custom oils go into all of the products. So it's super unique and super productive. That's my long-winded explanation of how much I love the natural plant-based world.
Well, and I love that you obviously had an interest in possibly going into medicine and health, and your sister, she was into the herbal medicines and the midwife sector.
It's a funny word.
It
I was
is.
like, is that a real word to my sister? Because she was like, it's midwifery. I'm like, oh no,
Midwifery, there you go.
midwifery. I'm like, that's a real word, and it is.
There you go. And so I guess it sounds like your family dynamics, like where do you think that passion for health and being more natural came from?
Well, some funny stories. So we grew up in the military, and we were big runners and swimmers. So we learned early in our I'll call it our athletic career. I wouldn't call it a career, but our experience, that what we ate and how we took care of ourselves impacted our performance. So my sister and I became, very health conscious early. Matter of fact, I didn't even know what vegan was. I became vegan when I was 12. And people were like, so you don't eat meat or cheese, or no, they were like, so you're vegan? I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't eat meat or cheese or dairy. And my parents made me go to a nutritionist because my dad's in the military. He's like, you're not eating the meat at dinner. And I'm like, nope. And so they're like, you need to go see a doctor. This is really weird. So it wasn't a part of even our family culture at the time. But I think me going to a nutritionist really shaped the family's like all overall interest in that. Um, and then we moved around all the time. So we were like super close family. And we were moving like every 3 to 4 months to like 3 years.
Wow.
And an observation that we would make, like my mom loved plants, but she couldn't plant in the gardens because we were going to leave soon. So she had all these potted plants. And so we'd be like in the car with all these like potted plants, like hitting our faces while we're driving like to the next place where we're super annoyed that we're moving. But then my mom would also have all these boxes of beauty care products. And we would be like, Mom, why do you have all these beauty care products? One, why isn't the movers taking them? And then also, like, you've had this for like the last 3 moves. Like, don't you think you should just throw it away? Like, are you ever going to use it? And she's like, the movers can't pack, they can't take these products because they're flammable. And we're like, you put flammable products on your face? And she's like, well, yeah, they're like petroleum. We're like, petroleum? And so like light bulbs started going on for my sister and I. Just in terms of ingredients in personal care products from those moves and being like super annoyed that we were driving with them. But and realizing that it was very unusual to be thinking about putting chemicals on your skin, and when I was in my undergrad, another one when I was in organic chemistry and we were like dissecting the sunscreen, down to a chemical equation. And I was like, I raised my hand and I was like to the professor, I'm like, this is a known carcinogen in sunscreen. Like, we know this is this is carcinogenic. Like, why is this in sunscreen? He's like, it's the only ingredient that, is being marketed right now to like prevent sun damage. I'm like, but
Oh.
it's a carcinogen, And so
Crazy.
I think we just started cluing in on that and then just becoming really passionate about not only how it impacts our own health and wellness, but it impacts the environment. This gets washed off in in the shower, into our water system, into our food. And these chemicals are fairly new. I mean, they only came around during the Industrial Revolution. Plants and all these other natural ingredients have been here long before and will be hopefully here long after. And so I don't think that anyone intended to hurt anyone, but now is the time to really like we know the facts. So now's the time to like really eradicate these harmful ingredients and packaging. I mean, don't get me started on phthalates, but we can come back to that.
So, what are your views on plant based products for holistic well being?
I love the plants. Thanks, Mom, even though, we weren't happy about the plants hitting us on all of our moves. Um, Plants just have so much to give, they have so many beautiful medicinal properties, especially in terms of how they're processed. So like I was sharing with you that we make most of the ingredients. And the reason is we can yield high amounts of those medicinal properties. We combine that very specifically with other plants because how plants work alone and how they work with other plants changes that. So protecting the integrity of the plant is important because there's a lot of other things like terpenes and chlorophyll and the botanical profile that get stripped when you're doing some of these other more harmful extractions that kill the medicinal properties of the plants, along with other sneaky ingredients that can inhibit their performance. So how things are processed are so important. And I could go on and on. I mean, we use all plants from all over the world, super sustainable. So when we're thinking about formulating, most of these plants are like just weeds that don't need a lot of water, the more you harvest them, the more they grow. We're really mindful of not selecting ingredients that could be harmful if, you know, um, if, what's the word I'm looking for? If harvested in a mass scale, and regenerative farming and looking at how we're cleaning the environment while also using these plants is important. Calendula flower is probably our most pervasive plant, and this is in just about every one of our products. And this flower is just so beautiful. And the more I'm learning about data-driven wellness, the more I just fall in love with this plant. And it's really quite pretty plant too. When we were really small, we used to grow all of the herbs ourselves and then take them and process them. But they're like little marigolds, little orange and yellow flowers. And they give so much. They have antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial properties. They are incredibly hydrating, and we're just learning that they're also a plant stem cell. And so we're seeing that its ability to rejuvenate and regenerate, even on a systemic level is really incredible. Um, but we can go into all the plants if you want.
No, that's
No, it's all
awesome.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, and then what kind of inspired you to go from obviously all these little things that you were noticing with health, skincare, nutrition, facial products to like developing and making that jump and starting your own company?
Say that it happened for us, not because we necessarily planned it, Um, these products really embody like my mom, sister, and I's mission, vision, and who we are. We're a certified B Corp. We obviously care about ingredients, we care about the process, we care about the planet, but we have a philanthropic arm to them as well in terms of making sure that we're giving back. We work with international nonprofits to small little mom and pop ones. I mean, when we started working for Keep a Breast Foundation, they were a tiny group, and I'd like to think that, our impact with them over the years has really helped them in terms of their message throughout the world. And they're just really intentional products. Like we love to help. We're like little helpers and we love to exceed expectations. So it's really fun when we go into product development. We're like, hey, like we can't just, especially, I mean, heck, it's wound care. Like we don't want to be like, oh, it's natural, maybe your wound will get better. Like, no, like we want to serve you and give you, exceed your expectations. You have eczema, we want to exceed your expectations. Um, but we also want people to count on us, and like our word means so much to our customers, and that goes into our product development. Our mission statement is spread goodness, and we mean that not just from spreading goodness from these products on your body, but we mean it from how these products impact the world and how we as individuals interact with each other internally as a culture in terms of spreading goodness, making people's day better. And that's been really fun. Now 10 years ago, there was, if I, when I was talking to buyers and I'd say, okay, we've got a plant-based first aid product, they're like, what? I'm like, just try it. Trust me, it'll work. I mean, John Hopkins has been using our dry skin formula in their scleroderma and skin condition department for over a decade. But it's just now that the plant renaissance is really upon us. And so it's more fun now because it's not so hippy dippy, I guess is the word I'm looking for, where people would just be like, oh, it's just this plant-based, product. Like it's data driven. And I think the world is more open and ready for plant-based solutions. And I mean, we know we need them, right?
Totally.
Oh, yeah, 100%. What would you say are some of your top selling products that you have in your company?
The Green Goo Repair is our number one selling product. This was designed to be a after burn and scar product initially. And like a lot of our products, we like to, one, look at it as multifunctional. So, are the idea of simplifying your home, simplifying your body care, is part of our product development. So making sure that it serves you in more ways, but then it's also our customers who come back to us and like, hey, I use it for X, Y, and Z. And then we're like, oh, we had no idea. And I'd say repair was one of those in terms of its anti-aging component. Like we knew that what we were putting in it had anti-aging components, but we didn't know is that the consumer was going to lean in here and make this their go-to anti-aging product. And so it is absolutely fantastic for scars, wrinkles, hydration. So it's got the aloe vera in there, the helichrysum, the rose hip oil. I live in Colorado. I don't know what I would do without this product. There's like no moisture in the air. Matter of fact, it's sucking the moisture out of you like every second of the day. And I put this on head to toe. And we have a saying in the house, we call it butter up or salve up. And so, in the evening, take a shower, put your repair on head to toe, put your bathrobe on, and just let your skin like soak it up. And not only does your skin look and feel amazing, but I'll say like the next day, it changes your mindset. Like you just feel good. And I think it underscores this, your skin is the largest organ. Give your skin the food and the nutrients that it loves and wants. Um, and and food for your skin matters and it impacts your mindset, and I think there's a bigger relationship between our skin and our mindset and consciousness than we know. And I think we're just beginning to discover that. The behavior or the Journal of Behavioral Medicine and the Journal of Dermatology are just starting to do research on how mindfulness can impact wound care, eczema flare-ups, and your overall skin health. And so I think there's a stronger relationship between nourishing your skin and having sort of this systemic health and wellness.
I love that. I know you talked a little bit about like your process of, how you guys process plants and how that's revolutionary and different. That, and then what other factors kind of differentiate you from other all natural companies?
I think you absolutely pointed out the process. I mean, the process is huge. That has not been scaled to date at the level that we're doing, and it allows us to have a very sustainable process of extracting from the plants, and then also allowing us to yield high amounts of those medicinal properties and then combine them in a very unique way. So that in itself just gives superior efficacy. And then I think the plants that we are combining together are very disruptive. Although we've been doing this, for 10 years, um, you know, the plants haven't changed a whole lot for us in terms of what those combinations are. Now, of course, we're constantly looking at new opportunities of, which plants we can combine or different processes. Like right now, we're working on some really fun extractions from, like from a composting standpoint, from like lemon and orange peels and different stuff to see like how else we can, one, help from a waste standpoint, and then two, bring more flavonoids and antioxidants into our skincare. So I'd say, that process and just being really disruptive with those ingredients, and then efficacy first. I mean, we going back to product development, we want to make sure that we're always exceeding expectations. Like our second, and probably the one that most people know us for, is our natural first aid product. And this is not just for a topical antiseptic. This is your first aid kit and one little tin. So when you look at a first aid set, you're like, okay, people are looking for wound care, but they also want something that like takes the itch out, takes the sting out, slows down the bleeding, speeds up the healing. So we're like, let's make it your first aid kit on the go. And so heals quickly, but then like kids love it because it takes the sting and the itch out. You can put it on your dogs because neomycin is toxic to animals. 25% of the population in general, humans have an allergy to neomycin. But then it's great because it has the pain relief properties to it. I've had insane stories of people telling me they're out in the backcountry, they get this massive gash, they put in their green goo because it slows down the bleeding and of course helps with the sting and the pain. And then they go and they get their 18 inches, their 18 stitches at the hospital. And, that got them where they needed to go. And so it's really fun. And again, you don't know that you need portable first aid until you have it. And you're like, wow, this was really convenient. Like you got a bee sting, you got a bug bite, you got a sunburn, you have a blister. So it's super helpful.
And I love that you guys keep that consumer in mind. I know you
Yeah.
have like some on the go options that are like little sticks even. I'm like, that's genius. Throw that in a diaper bag or a purse, and like you said, you can have it when you need it. I think that's awesome.
And the diaper bag, that's a great example of our baby balm, also one of our top sellers, which is like you're a mom and you're carrying around like 10 different products, and then you've got diapers, and then you got snacks, and you have all the things. And so our baby balm is perfect for diaper rash, but then it's also a head to toe like first aid for a baby. So it's like eczema, cradle cap, any kind of dry skin. Has a wonderful blend of essential oils, so it can also be very calming if you just want to give them a massage and like just kind of calm them as they're, I mean, because babies get so overstimulated with everything that's, around them. And all you need is that baby balm stick or, jar with you, and you've been able to like reduce all the things you're carrying.
Looking to boost your energy and vitality? Try liposomal NAD from Ego Beauty and Wellness. With liposomal technology for optimal absorption, experience enhanced energy and cellular rejuvenation. Liposomal NAD, available at Ego Beauty and Wellness. Discover your vitality today. Visit www.egodefine.com to learn more and purchase.
Are you ready for a brighter future? Do you want to turn your dreams into reality? It all starts with setting SMART goals that propel you towards success. Hi, I'm Joanne, a holistic health coach with Ego Beauty and Wellness, and I've created the ultimate goal-setting workbook, the key to unlocking your full potential. Picture this, you achieving your wildest aspirations. It all begins with setting clear, actionable goals. That's why I've crafted a unique guide that transforms your dreams into a roadmap for success. I help break down the journey into achievable milestones, ensuring that you stay focused and motivated. Imagine the person you'll become when you set and achieve your goals with the ultimate goal-setting workbook. It's not just about reaching the destination, it's about the journey of self-discovery and growth. Make this your year for breakthroughs. Start your journey with the ultimate goal-setting workbook, where dreams meet reality. Visit our website at www.egodefine.com or call us now to kickstart your success journey. Your goals are within reach, and Ego is here to help you grab them.
That's awesome.
So in your bio, it had mentioned that you're exploring markets such as cannabis and psychedelics. What are your views on these fields being used in the health and wellness realm?
Well, cannabis has so many wonderful benefits to it. I really attribute the cannabis industry for bringing the plant renaissance to where it is today. I mean, it wasn't until the Farm Bill passed, and I remember talking to buyers and just being like, "Hey, we extract from plants, and here's what we do, and these plants can do all these things." And it was very difficult for people to really process. And then when the Farm Bill passed, all of a sudden there was this wave of education and this wave of investments behind, well, what can the hemp plant do? What is a cannabinoid? What is CBD? What are the health benefits of CBG, CBN, and so forth? And so I was able to utilize that conversation with my buyers and say, how they're extracting from hemp. That's what we've been doing, but we've been doing it with, hundreds of other plants. And oh, by the way, there's naturally occurring cannabinoids in echinacea, black pepper, arugula. It's just the hemp plant gets all the credit. Um, Huge fan of hemp, though. It's nutritional opportunities and the endocannabinoid system. And what's been really fun for us at Green Goo is looking at when you have hemp in that CBD profile, and we do the same thing with CBD, that entourage effect where we're protecting the integrity of the plant, and we process it the same way because it does have so many other properties to give. But when you have nice volumes of CBD calming the endocannabinoid system, we find that the other herbs are able to be that much more effective. And so they have a really great relationship in how they work on your body systemically, whether it's anti-aging, inflammation, eczema, wound care. So big proponent of that. And then you add like psychedelics, which is so fun for me, full circle, health psychology, psychoneuroimmunology, and when we first started talking about neuroplasticity, which is basically like when you're young you can learn anything, when you're old you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like there's that's just the way it is. And what I find fascinating around the psychedelic data that we're coming up with is like, no, that isn't the case. Like what you see when you can observe psychedelics on the brain and its ability to learn and adapt and absorb in a much higher rate is phenomenal. And take that into some very challenging, um, psychological diagnoses, if you will. It's been a phenomenal tool. And so you're seeing for the first time, people who have been suffering from treatment resistant PTSD for decades do 2 to 3 sessions of psilocybin and they're at an 80% remission rate. People with generalized anxiety disorders, phantom limb, end of life, chronic pain. And so one, it gives us tools to perhaps improve people's quality of life, which is incredible. And of course, we're looking at this from a plant-based, natural, alternative modalities, which is phenomenal. It's also bringing the conversation of equitable healthcare, which, in the pharmaceutical world, we don't talk about equitable healthcare. But
Yeah.
because these psychedelics are coming from a lot of indigenous communities, we're actually bringing that to the conversation, which is amazing. And it should be that. And I think we're also challenging our traditional approach of medicine and, call it the pain loop or, the mind is what impact it has on our health and wellness. And it's bringing more, like funds for research. I mean, we're seeing that even certain meditations can mirror the same impact that, someone under the influence of a psychedelic can. Well, amazing. We would have never even considered looking at that as a tool for improving people's health and wellness had we not discovered what's happening in psychedelics.
For sure. No, I love that. I'm really excited
Yeah.
to see where that kind of research goes and obviously the laws that inhibit people from studying psychedelics. But I am truly a fan, such as you are, on psilocybin and how cost effective it is and the effects it has with people with all different types of conditions. I'm like, this is going to be really cool to see that revolution happen.
It is, and I do think, and I know a lot of people want to put psychedelics and cannabis in the same bucket because they were both or are both, regulated in some of the same ways. Um, but I do think that the fact that we can actually shift the stigma associated with these medicines because they just had a negative connotation for so long. And why, and I think that just like cannabis, psychedelics should and could be incorporated in a you don't necessarily have to have a mental condition to appreciate the effects of it. We're seeing enough data that it just improves people's quality of life. It from a even like an athletic performance standpoint, people are able to push themselves even further, in terms of exercise and so forth. So I think, weight loss. So I think we're going to see a lot of really great stuff come from it, to your point.
Oh, I love that.
So you had mentioned mindfulness and meditation a few times. Just for our listeners, how would you explain what that actually does to the brain and how it can improve your well-being?
Well, we're seeing some really fascinating data as it relates to skincare. That's a perfect example. But then, just in general, it reduces cortisol and stress reduction, which by doing that impacts whether it's inflammation in the skin or your immune system. And obviously serotonin and dopamine in terms of, happiness and health. Um, Mindfulness can mean a lot of different things. And I think a lot of times people interpret that if you are going to be mindful, you need to go and meditate for like, 2 hours to get the benefits. And I love, there's a term called positive intelligence, and it's a great way to unpack mindfulness in a small way throughout the day. It can be as simple as just being very conscious and present when you're brushing your teeth. It can be like looking at a sunset or looking at the horizon, just a little bit longer and just focusing on that thing in front of you and being mindful of letting the other thoughts go away. Gratitude is one that they're seeing a lot of data behind just in terms of practicing gratitude and how that is a mindful um, action that then has a positive impact on, the stress hormones and creating, healthy hormones and homeostasis. And so, for me having a 12-year-old daughter, I try to teach her those little sound bites throughout the day. I'm always like, "Look, let's look at the horizon. Let's get a little serotonin." She's like, "Oh my gosh." But I catch her doing it, or like, "Let's just rub our fingers for a minute and let's just take a minute to just like feel the tip of your fingers and get rid of everything else." Or do some like breathing exercises. And I've caught her on her own, like she's doing her math homework, and it's an overwhelming problem. And she stops and she takes a couple deep breaths. And then a couple times I've caught her doing that. And then she like gets present, and there's something about getting present that allows you, one, to get healthy, but then two, helps you navigate like the next thing that you're going to do, the next thing you're going to tackle. And so much of what we are exposed to around us is pushing us into the past or into the future.
Mhm.
And, we're just like, ding, the phone goes off. Ding, I got to go do this. I got to do that, and then you spend the rest of the time like regretting the 10 things that you did, instead of just being present. And so I wish that was like a curriculum in our elementary schools, because
100%.
why wait till you're an adult to figure this out? Like they have the natural neuroplasticity. So like, let's do that, let's inform them then so it can serve them well.
No, and what a powerful tool, right? Yeah, it's like how awesome would that be to know those concepts? Like when you were 12, the things you're teaching your daughter. I totally agree with that, and I think that's going to give them longevity. It's going to give them a tool they can pull out whenever life gets tough, which we know it inevitably does. So I'm right there with you. I think that's huge. What do you? You're a mother. Obviously, you have this awesome company. You're constantly doing research. You're pulled a lot of different ways. How do you manage that whole work-life balance?
Very much. I I learned early on to practice what I preach. If I was going to be authentic in delivering these products, I needed to do that myself. Now, mind you, in the early days, I didn't. It was like, okay, I got to keep grinding, grind at all of this, and I'm running around, taking my daughter to all the things, and recognizing that I wasn't serving her well either by not practicing it. And so, there is a saying, put the oxygen mask on first, and there's a reason for that. And yet I felt like that was really selfish. And now I can feel the impact of doing that as, a wife, as a parent, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur. And so I really carved that time out. So, we have an acronym in our home called Shaman, and it helps us. It's like our North Star. So S is the sleep bank. So making sure we're adding to the sleep bank, because sleep will serve you well and it's important, H is hydration. And this is a big one for my daughter who dances and plays volleyball. Not just making sure we're drinking enough water, but looking at what we're choosing to drink. Like, is that drink really giving me the hydration that I need? Is that body care product really giving me the hydration it needs? Because we know a lot of those ingredients can be pulling the hydration out. And we also know that there's ingredients in foods that are higher in hydration. And so that is just really important to our overall health and wellness. A is avoid. So avoid, for her, it's like sugar, avoid the chemicals, the phthalates, the parabens. I mean, phthalates is the number one producing chemical on the planet. And the US produces 1 billion pounds of that alone. And that's in plastic containers. So thinking about the ingredients is important, but then the container in which you buy it. I was really excited to see that the FDA is taking a position on packaging and saying, okay, we're going to make a requirement in what can and cannot be in packaging, and that's fairly new
Mhm.
because so many of these ingredients are leaching. M is mindfulness and just making sure that we're spending time and contributing to mindfulness throughout the day. And if I'm conscious enough about that, I don't have to sit and meditate for an hour every day because I'm doing it throughout the day whenever I can. And when you explore positive intelligence a little bit more, you'll start to see that it becomes like a muscle memory. Like you have to work your mind out the same way you have to work your body out. And they work so well together. And the more you do it, the more you'll catch yourself like not getting caught up in that. Uh, no, my parents used to call me like, you were a bee in a past life. You do not sit still. And I just like, I like to be in motion, but now my motion is intentional.
Mhm.
Like I do a lot of walk and talks with my team. I'm like, don't Zoom all day long. Like get out there, get your exercise and walk and talk. You're going to be more present with people. And that's a mindful activity.
Mhm.
And then the other A is antioxidants. So there's so much importance in those antioxidants, whether it's the personal care products that you're putting on your body, the foods that you're choosing. And this was really important for my daughter because I don't want, obviously, being in natural skincare, I don't want to take the autonomy away from her to learn and navigate these on her own. She's going to be out of the house on her own, and I don't want her just like buying chemicals, being like, yeah, I got these, mom. Like I'm doing it. I want her to like really own that. And so she has like apps that she uses to look at like what are the ingredients in food and personal care products. So she can just kind of decide. Plus, I mean, packaging, there's so much misleading happening on packaging. You'll pick up a product and you'll think it's natural. And then, she'll use her app and be like, oh my gosh, mom, like this is only 2% healthy. And so it allows you to be a discerning consumer. And then
Mhm.
N is nutrition, which really just dovetails well with that. Food for your skin, food for your body, eat as many of those whole foods as you can. But hey, have your treats. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you are mindful of, hey, I've been having a lot of things that really aren't serving me well, and you can start to feel it,
Mhm.
you kind of like lean back. And so yeah, shaman has been a little tool for us.
I love that acronym.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, your family motto is just being super intentional.
Hmm.
That's fantastic in all those different ways. I love that acronym, and I'm definitely going to be thinking about
Yeah,
that.
me too. So, how does self care play a role in your daily life?
Well, and I think that what I have learned in self-care is that the veil becomes thinner is the best way to describe it. It's like you're more in tune. I'm better. I'm a better leader. I'm a better mother. I'm a better partner. And, it's like when you're not getting enough sleep, you feel crappy. You're like not as friendly, when you're like
Mhm.
eating bad foods, you're just cranky. And so I find that, I mean, really from a performance standpoint, it's better, but then also just from a relationship standpoint, from making decisions. And so it's like it's I don't know how to not do it anymore because I've experienced like you're like the veil is so thin now, you can see that, and you don't want to have barricades in front of that anymore. Um, and I think it also helps me be a better product developer too, as I'm looking at different ways that we can inform the consumer. And it makes me more passionate too about what else I could be doing. So we're looking at some fun things, like we just started a gratitude app that we're still fine tuning. And it's available now, but I'd like to like get it better and more polished. Um, we added a tab like things we love, and bringing in some other nutraceuticals and other companies that are just brands we really appreciate what they're doing, and we appreciate how it also from a holistic integrative perspective ties in well with our products, Green Goo, Southern Butter. And I think when you're when you're taking the journey of the health and wellness, more call it again data-driven wellness, um, you you're more present. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so hopefully we can offer that gift to our customers as well.
I like that. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of the times, like, people overthink self care. Like, it has to be this huge thing. And like you said, carve out this time. And I can't, and I feel like there's such small ways, like you're saying, incorporating that intention on a daily basis and throughout the day. It doesn't have to be overwhelming or disrupt your whole work day. It's like you can fit those self care moments throughout.
To where it becomes more of a lifestyle.
Yes.
Like for you, it's like your foundation. It's so innate in you that, you're able to walk the talk and, like you said, be a better all the things, which you are. It's very impressive. What advice do you have for listeners who are curious about alternative paths to well-being, but maybe are a little unsure if they want to take that dive in?
Well, I think like what you both said, which it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And I think sometimes it feels that way. And so just let it inch its way into your life and you'd be surprised. I can still, if I'm at my daughter's volleyball tournament and we didn't pack food and we have to go to drive-through, I can still find a way to navigate that, whether it's a treat and or, find a healthy choice. And so it becomes so ingrained in you and efficacy matters. Like you will find that it makes a difference in your life. And that's what I love about Green Goo is it's not designed to be just for the natural consumer. And I love when people try their product and they're like, okay, I've had poison ivy for 6 months. I've tried everything. I'm so annoyed. I went ahead and just tried Green Goo because I figured what the heck, it's a last ditch effort. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's gone in 2 days. Like, what else do you have? And so you can start that journey by just trying a handful of things and then start working your way in. And then it does save, like the more you can use these natural alternatives, it saves your body for when some of these, Western medicine, modern advancements can then really like benefit you more, right? Like a physician loves doing surgery on a healthy patient, like it's going to be a much better outcome, And so then when you really need those, different interventions, you can, because your body is like, I am in great shape and I can take like, this might be hard on my liver or what have you, but that's okay. Like my body can handle it. And so, looking at it from that perspective as well can be very helpful of just, I like to look at things from the inversion oftentimes, because sometimes looking at it the other way is so overwhelming. So just be like, okay, maybe I just won't do that. And maybe I just won't do that. And then maybe then what does not doing that and the opposite look like? Okay, well then maybe I'll try that. Um, and then just see how it serves you.
I like that. That's great. Is there anything that you are currently working on in your physical or mental health that you'd be open to sharing?
Oh goodness, where do I begin? They're in different stages and phases. From a group standpoint, like we're definitely, I was saying like walking and talking. So now like from a team standpoint, we're like, okay, who got the most steps? Who got outside more? Just kind of making that fun in terms of exercise, which has been really fun because my husband, I would call him a late adopter in all of this. And now like we're competing and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like beating me. Like and and so there's that. I am trying to have more whole foods in my life. Like I'm definitely more on the go. Like I love that the natural channel has like, natural Doritos and that's fun. but I'm trying to have more of those whole foods in my life and taking the time out and making it a team effort. And that has been great. And ironically, like my grocery bill is going down by planning that, a little bit more. And I thought it was going to be more overwhelming, but it hasn't been. I mean, there's so many great recipes out there, and then you just kind of get into the rhythm. Um, let's see. From a Green Goo standpoint, we've got the things we love that are coming. Really fine tuning that gratitude app, and bringing in some of the things I'm learning in the positive intelligence world of building. that mindfulness and consciousness into just like my everyday practices, and then being able to deliver that and package it in a way that our customers can utilize it, and because I think, again, like we talked about, it just can seem overwhelming in terms of how to integrate it. So if I can find easy small bites for everyone, because I know I need that. I mean, repair, like back to like, low maintenance body care, like that sits on my nightstand and that's the only thing I use. I just put it on before I go to bed and done. So I need low maintenance to keep up with the schedule and the chaos.
I love that.
That's very exciting, and I'm very much interested in the app that you're bringing out.
That's super cool.
Where would someone be able to find your products? Can you drop your website, and then maybe if you have the name of the app, so that way they have something to look out for?
Yeah, so greengoo.com, that's probably the best way to find us. You can learn more about the family, try the products. We, of course, on social media, Green Goo helps. So, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. And then the app is available on the Apple Store. We are working on getting it to the Android store, and it is called Self, SELF, and then Gratitude Journal. And I'd love feedback too, so people, if you want to check it out and give me some feedback, I'd love that as we're just kind of dialing it in.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk with us and educate us and our listeners more about the products you offered and plant-based medicine. We really, really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's lots of good information. So lots of gems in this episode.
Well, it's been amazing to spend time with y'all, and thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode of the Awaken Your Ego podcast. We hope our discussions have inspired you to explore new dimensions of health and wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower individuals on their path to optimal well-being.
Stay tuned for more insightful conversations, and until next time, may you continue to awaken your ego and embrace the extraordinary potential within.
Take care, be well, and remember, your journey matters.